Juan Muñoz was bored and expelled from school during his student years, so his father hired a poet who gave Muñoz a sense of modernism. Muñoz, who studied architecture at university, could not convince himself that what he was doing was important and he couldn't find a job he could read to. From the age of 17 to 27, he traveled a lot and produced very little. Much later, when he returned to Spain in 1982 or 1983, he stopped traveling and eventually set up a studio. And that's when he started making objects. One of the leading sculptors of his generation, Munoz was also interested in the oral arts and even composed music for the radio. He was a self-described storyteller. His focus on the human form set him apart from many of the comparisons who saw figurations at outdated. Known for embracing the relationship of sculpture with architecture and the audience, Muñoz's work is full of references to Western cultural history. His artistic activity, including drawing, radio plays, and essays, as well as sculpture and installations.
As one of the most important sculptors of his generation, Juan Muñoz is known for his return to the human form in art and his emphasis on the relationship between sculpture, architecture, and audience. In sculptures, paintings, dialogue fragments, and immersive installations, he often places the audience in dramatic relationship with spaces and objects, which are both architectural and implicit narratives. Muñoz is internationally renowned for his works that place characters in the built environment. Muñoz's installations are both dramatic and theatric, using proportions and perspectives to influence the audience's contact with the work. The incredible qualities of the characters and their mysterious silence invite the audience to construct their narrative or read the work. These figures are made of resin or cast in bronze, frozen at moments of inner communication, opened mouths, or caught in intermediate poses, adding eerie and literal tranquility to the silence of their conversation. He was interested in the shadows of the walls, the shape of the doorways, and the human life that was happening around him. However, his job is not always silent or static. Muñoz was also interested in the possibilities of sound, especially radio. Some of his figures were equipped with animatronic devices. Juan has frequently included mirrors in his works, but the subject he deals with is mirroring rather than the mirror itself. The mirror represents Juan's ability to create a pictorial illusion, and what interests him is an illusion of putting together an artistic world as well as the world we live in.
Juan Muñoz is famous for his sculptural work, in which he places the human figure in elaborate or complex architectural settings. These are created using elements such as patterned floors, stairs, and balconies. Then, with the thoughtful placement of the figures, Muñoz convinces the viewer to engage with the implied dramas unraveling in them. Double Bind presents the viewer with a series of intriguing scenarios that play on perspective and illusion, visibility and invisibility. Architectural features such as shafts and balconies in Double Bind also serve as metaphors, especially in Muñoz's art, which functions as a threshold form between spectator and actor, past and future, subject and object. Titled Double Bind, the installation is divided into two parts. At the upper bridge level of the turbine hall, the visitor sees a patterned floor beyond the balcony railing, where two elevators lock up and descend in constant motion. The ground appears to be punctured by a series of massive black holes or shafts, some of which are illusions.
Then, if we move on to his work titled Last Conversation Piece, three corpses come together in this work, while two more people wander in the suburbs. None of this betrays the drama that, on closer inspection, would seem to reveal empty statements. Filled with uncanny contradictions, these half-human forms combine isolated elements, including bakelite bodies and stylized faces, with realistic gestures and a dramatic sense of movement. As is typical in Muñoz's work, spacing between figures is just as important to the overall effect as sculpted forms. It appears theatrical in a stage setting, but unlike a stage production where the audience is physically separated from the actors, where visitors can enter the speaking space even though the statue's stony faces ignore them. Viewers who enter this space without the possibility of participating in the conversation may feel a subtle disconnection from reality, as if they are facing figures from a dream.
Many of Muñoz's work unfold as stories in which the audience is written into the drama. In 13 laughing at each other, the audience is pushed right into the middle of the stage. Upon entering the installation area, smiling figures sitting on the tribune-like structures are surrounded. From this point of view, it quickly becomes clear that Muñoz not only gives the viewer unconventional access to the artwork, but also shifts the role of the observer into the role of an unaware subject, and even a potentially ridiculed object as the sculptural figures laugh hysterically. The work creates tension and psychological depth that is both shocking and fascinating. In conclusion, if we come to why Juan Muñoz's name is mentioned in portraits, John Berger expresses his sadness at the sudden death of Juan Muñoz in his imaginary letters to Nazım Hikmet. Juan Muñoz is a very important friend of John Berger and a great artist. Berger also frequently states that he finds Muñoz funny and witty in his works. The reason why he is included in portraits is that Berger sees Muñoz as a very valuable person for him.